Hi, everyone. Dr. Danny here, founder of Brain Love and host of the Resilient Aging Unfiltered podcast. Welcome back. I wanted to tell you about our guest today, Bob Ehlers, and give you a little sneak peek into what's at the end of the episode. Bob is an entrepreneur, business strategist, and Alzheimer's advocate. He has leadership experience spanning startups, Fortune 500 companies, and nonprofit innovation. After being diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's disease at age 58, Bob became deeply involved in advocacy, technology innovation, and new ways to support people living with cognitive change in their families. This led him to found and now lead Conexo Casa, which is a nonprofit focused on smart home and social networking services for older adults and people living with neurocognitive conditions. So stay with us till the end of the episode because Bob has been exploring the intersection of AI, creativity, and brain health through music. We'll close today's conversation with a clip from one of his original AI-assisted songs. Stay tuned. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Resilient Aging Unfiltered podcast. Today, we have a very special guest who I met in the past several months, Bob Ehlers.
No, you were right the first time you said Ehlers.
Yes, Bob is living with early onset Alzheimer's disease, and that's how we met. And then Bob started talking about, one of the main things, important things to him was to create a legacy. And so you can continue if you are open to that, talking about what you were saying.
Yeah. So I found out I had Alzheimer's disease when I was 58, and I was working as a vice president for a semiconductor software company. I was meeting with people all around the world, and I was traveling to trade shows and meeting with customers and marketing products. And then I had a brain failure, so to speak, and I lost a week of time at work. I just completely forgot it, right? And my employees were frustrated with me, and they thought I was kidding when I said we should go and work on this problem, but the problem had already been solved the prior week. So I knew something was wrong. And then I got diagnosed and got into a clinical trial. And then I had to tell my company, right, that I had this. And there was no protocol for it. There was no help on the internet about how to work when you have Alzheimer's disease, because everybody assumes that you can't, right? And that, you're going to be a couch potato and do nothing. So my boss and my company were just great. Wow. And when I told them this, we worked out an accommodation, and they created a new position for me and moved me out of being responsible for stuff, but still trying to use my knowledge. And so I worked for 2 more years doing that. And then when I couldn't work anymore because I was just forgetting too much stuff, then I was going out on disability and I had a whole bunch of time. So what can I do with that time? And knowing that I can't work, I can't do something where I'm critical to the process. I had to be adjacent to the process or a contributor to the process, but not, critical cog in the machine. And so I tried volunteering, and I first volunteered at the little historical society that we have out here in the town that I live in. And I said, well, I'll be your IT person and I'll help you set up your IT stuff. Well, they weren't ready for that. They didn't have the ability to absorb what I had. And I really didn't want to be a docent. That wasn't a thing that I wanted. So then I tried another thing, and I became a SCORE volunteer. And that I talk to people just like we're talking now, entrepreneurs that are trying to grow their business. And I use what I can to help them move forward, solve problems, think about what they can do differently. I don't remember session to session what we talked about. I don't remember the face. I don't remember but technology helped. So I can use Firefly's AI transcription thing that records everything and sends them notes of what we talked about, so that when we meet again, I can pull the notes up and kind of look at them and go, oh, okay, I may not remember what it was, but I can at least read it and kind of go, okay, I think I know what I can do to help them. And if I give them bad advice, well, they got what they paid for it because it was free.
Okay.
So I do that. And that's stuck, and I'm now on my third year of doing SCORE, and I like that. I've done, I'm going to say about 400 people that way. And then I had this idea of simplifying the internet for people like me,
Mhm.
the future me that can't navigate all the apps and can't figure out what buttons to push on their phone. So I came up with this idea of a simple home automation internet portal, and I call it Conexo Casa, the connected home. And the idea is to make a very simple app that, let me see if I can actually bring it up on my phone and I'll show you a picture of it. Not that it's doing anything because I haven't gotten it fully functional just yet. And sometimes because it's a prototype, sometimes I don't get it working right. Okay, now I'm getting a blank screen, so that's not good. Okay, I'm not going to show you the app. But the idea is that it's a simple, home automation where the family and friends can see, is there a smoke alarm or the lights on? Is there movement in the house? Where is mom or dad in the house? They can schedule calls. So one button for Zoom
Mhm.
instead of trying to figure it all out and
That's great.
is the camera on and do
Yeah.
I have my microphone on and stuff like that. So that's a nonprofit, and I set up a 501(c)(3) for
Ah,
that.
there's such a need for that. If I may jump in, I hear about from almost all of my patients from the beginning challenges with tech in different ways and can be so frustrating. And even just managing a calendar
Yeah, it's hard.
is really hard. And then there's updates and it changes things. And it seems like this should be, there should be solutions for this and to be able to have adaptive approaches, which is amazing.
And there are things that do that,
Mhm.
right? The RAS phone, Jitterbug, and
Mhm.
some things like that, but they don't do everything.
Mhm.
And they're still not bulletproof. My idea was to make something that would be an app that could be kiosk. So
Mhm.
it locks in whatever device you have to just do that thing.
I see.
Yeah.
So can we go back to
Yeah.
the concept of working with Alzheimer's because that's just seems like very controversial or like highly like people don't think about that. I'm wondering what that was like for you. I'm sure it was a long process and psychologically and emotionally, existentially, to go from the high level, high functioning status and position and having these responsibilities, and then how you handled that evolving over time and what you used to cope. And because I imagine for most people, that'd be really very, very difficult.
When I got my diagnosis, and this is kind of the funny quote, because I got the diagnosis by applying to the clinical trial. And I did that on purpose because I wanted my diagnosis to be under NDA,
Mm,
non-disclosure agreements.
mm,
So they couldn't say anything, I couldn't say anything. And that was good because it served my purpose for a while. It bought me time to figure out what I was going to do.
mm,
But the intake coordinator said to me, "Well, congratulations, you've been accepted into the trial, and my deepest condolences." And it was like
mm,
I died, right?
mm,
And you're mourning yourself because you kind of, you think about what's to come. Right. And I saw my grandparents both go through this and then my dad. So I knew what was coming. And and I also was mourning my kids because I
mm,
was thinking about, well, clearly there's some kind of component to this. And okay, there I left a legacy for my kids, not the one I wanted.
mm.
So, after crying a lot and being depressed, because I think depression is just sort of comes with this, right?
Yeah.
You can't be told you're going to become a vegetable and be happy about it, but you can learn to live with it. We're all going to die. It's just, I know how. basically. I'm not going to get hit by a bus. Well, maybe I'll get hit by a bus. But,
Hope not.
gonna die from whatever kidney failure because of my brain. But once I realized that I was facing this, it was like, well, I owe it to my wife and my kids and my employer and people that count on me to figure out a plan. I'm a very self-reliant person. I've always been. I don't take anything from anybody. I've never been a person that accepted charity or anything. I've always done it myself, right? I joined the Coast Guard when I was got out of high school because I had to pay for college. And my dad said, so what are you going to do? I said, well, I guess I'll join the Coast Guard. So that helped me pay for school. So being responsible meant figuring out a plan. And when you're working, there's no plan. There are no resources. There's no counselor. There's nobody that knows what to do because there's nobody doing it. And so I had to figure it out. And I figured out this is what I'm going to ask for. I want to be an individual contributor. I want to do maybe strategic planning or, something, writing marketing material or doing something that isn't mission critical. And my company figured that out and they said, okay, you can be vice president of strategic planning and we've got these things that we need you to work on. So they were plans for different aspects of the company and I was able to do it. And at the same time, I hired my successor and I trained them. And so there's still things you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your whole brain isn't dead. It's just parts of it. And you have to kind of surround it with doable things, achievable goals.
That's easier said than done for most people. So I think, especially just with aging, then to compare oneself to the younger self in many ways, work or with, what you can achieve physically. And some people opt out because they can't do what they used to do and they feel demoralized and it kind of stops there. And so you have this ability to, I guess, you're not dwelling in the past and it takes deliberate practice to not keep going back there and to be willing to accept, okay, I can still contribute in this great way and in this other VP role, for example. But I mean, I'm just acknowledging that your ability to do that. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Well, and one of the problems is most people find out too late. Right.
Good
That's
point.
why the testing is so important because you can do stuff about it. I took lecanemab and I know there's controversy about what's the other one, Casula and
Donanemab.
and donanemab and lecanemab that, whether they work or not.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that it stopped the progression, maybe not totally, but for the most part.
Wow. So is that the trial that you were in?
The trial
Okay. And so then you continued. And were you on the active drug or the placebo?
I was on the placebo for the first 18 months.
Okay.
And then I was on the open label extension for the next 18 months. And then I was on the self-injection open label extension for the next 18 months. So,
Got it.
So yeah, going through the clinical trial, you got to know what you're getting into because it's tough.
Absolutely.
Going in and getting infusions every other week and getting the blood draws and getting the MRIs and the PET scans and the blood work and blah, 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 blah. It sucks, but it yielded great results.
Yeah.
Not just for me, but for everybody.
Yeah. So just for listeners that don't know, so those are the newer anti-amyloid Alzheimer's medications for early symptomatic Alzheimer's disease. So they were approved in the last few years. And so Bob was one of the first people to have access to those. So during all of this transition, like to coming to terms with what was happening and figuring out, or your company, that's really, from what I've seen and heard, how they worked with you is really fantastic. It seems like, yeah.
Yep.
So,
I was extremely lucky.
and
Yeah, we don't have a lot of examples because people don't do this, like you said, that early when they can still keep working, contribute a lot, and be open about it. So I hope that people hearing from you, this can help. This alone, what you brought up, can help people speak up. But maybe that brings up the topic. I'm wondering if you've faced prejudice in your workplace from anyone when this did come out.
Not that I noticed,
Oh wow.
other than people saying, "Well, you don't seem like you have
Yeah.
Alzheimer's." And I'm
Mm,
like, "Well, okay,
yeah.
the science says otherwise." So
I bet you get that all the time.
I do. And, it's sort of like if you were high functioning, right? You were a Mensa person. Not that I was a Mensa person, but if you were a really smart person and now your capacity is half, you're still smarter than the average person. Not everybody is going to become instant vegetable. People keep going. I've got a friend, he's a dentist, was a dentist, and he's 59, and he had to stop practicing. Not because he was forgetting, but because he had essential tremors in his hands.
Okay. Which is separate. Yeah.
Yeah, but related, right? So now he's doing other things and volunteering again and doing his time. But if I was still in the Coast Guard, I would have been just discharged, right? They would have, flopped me out and I wouldn't have gotten, an opportunity to do that. And there wouldn't have been an opportunity to plan, right? And that's why the testing is so important, is because if you know and you're still with it, you can make a will. You can set up a living trust. You can start squirreling money away. You can figure out where to live. I mean, we moved from Oregon. I found out we moved from Oregon to Arizona. Why? Because it doesn't cost as much to live here. Taxes are known. Great medical people like you that know Alzheimer's and dementia problems. My wife got work down here and was able to continue her career. So knowing allows you to plan. And then, okay, if I go on the fritz, well, I know where I can go, right? There's
Mhm.
3 memory care places right around me. There's all sorts of things that we can do. And I got my dogs here. They're my therapy.
Yeah. 100%. That's a proven fact. Pet therapy.
Big time.
That should be paid for by Medicare and insurance companies.
Well, but it should
I
just
think
be
so. Yeah, sorry.
common sense for
Yeah.
people to have a pet, because a pet empathizes with you. Dogs are telepathic.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
can read your mind. They know when you're happy and when you're sad, and when you need a nudge and a cuddle, they're there.
Mhm. Yes.
Cats, not so much.
Some maybe. So, um, I wanna learn more about your continuing to, you're a SCORE mentor, so you're, for small business owners,
Mhm.
which is fantastic. Do you share with them about your Alzheimer's?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
When I get assigned somebody, I send them an email inviting them to schedule with me.
Mhm.
I have a little template that I send, and I introduce myself and tell them I won't remember from day to day what we talked about, and you can try me out and see how I do. And if you like it, you can come back. And if you don't, one and done. And you can move on. And when I have a good day, nobody can tell. Today was a good day. I had a good day. I had a guy this morning that I helped out. And he was, when can we meet again? Right? He wanted to do it again. But when I have a bad day where somebody schedules a meeting in the evening when the sun goes down, my brain decays, right?
Mhm.
I can't, that's words from a song. Music is a big thing for me too. So,
There's a lot there. I wanna, jump on.
no, whatever you want to talk
Well,
about.
no. I was thinking about, anybody who's been working all day by the evening is usually like it's harder to think and pay attention. And so for you, it's even tougher. Um, there's
You
usually
get exhausted. I
yeah,
take a nap in the
yeah.
afternoon just because I need to, recover. And sometimes I don't recover. So I
Mhm.
just then I avoid contact.
Okay. One of the things that struck me when we talked recently was you described how you feel in those moments, like as though you're wearing like a spacesuit, I think you said sometimes.
Yeah. In fact, I told you before we started, I went on a trip to Colorado with my friend, and we were walking around this lake, and I told him, I feel like I'm wearing a bubble suit. I'm my not in my skin. My brain is disconnected. And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I don't know what it is. Disassociation, encapsulation. I don't know what you'd call that. You probably know."
Well, I don't know, because those are, disassociating is a term, but are you like, is it like you're watching a movie or is it?
Yeah, I think I told you, what's that movie? Being John
Oh,
Malkovich,
yes. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And I remember that movie. I remember it because they had like little guys in his brain and they were looking out through his eyeballs and steering him and they couldn't control his arms or whatever. And that's how I kind of felt. And then I slipped on some ice and I fell.
Oh,
And so it was sort of like it wasn't me falling, it was somebody else.
wow.
So just kind of a weird thing. And I told my friend Steve, and he goes, "Yeah, that's really weird." But I, and that happens to me a lot. And I kind of feel like I'm just not here. It's like I'm a being inside my head, but I'm not connected to anything.
So I was thinking it would be helpful for other people, your loved ones, to know when you're in that state so that they may adapt how they engage with you to optimize it.
Yeah, I mean, I try to find things to ground me and bring me back to normal.
Hmm.
And sometimes it lasts a couple of days,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Where I'm kind of just like, I don't
Mm.
know, whatever.
What do you do to ground yourself?
I usually like start reading and I
Hmm.
try to make my brain do something that's hard. Reading is hard. And I find that if I can kind of like break through by doing something that I always do, but that makes me engage everything. So reading, but maybe people can't read, right? So
Hmm.
is it playing with the dog, right? Sometimes playing with the dogs is good.
Hmm.
They, they're my pals.
Yeah. And maybe music, does that ground you?
Yeah, so music, that's a pretty I listen to the music I wrote, but trying to compose, it has to be done on a good day because it's a very taxing and challenging undertaking for me.
Hmm. Yeah. When you're in the bubble suit, is there a pull to stay like inside or retract farther and you have to work hard to?
No, it's panic.
Oh, huh.
I get, I kind of think, is this going to become permanent? Am
Hmm.
I going to be trapped inside? I don't know what it is, but a panic is probably the closest thing that I could say about it.
Okay. Well, it's really valuable and important for us to understand more what that's like, and that could help lead to better treatments and better understanding of the brain mechanisms and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just one guy,
No, I
right?
know, but
Maybe my thing might not be, it might be abnormal, right? Not that I guess everything's abnormal at this point.
well, you know what? No, people really don't talk about this. I'm in this field for 20 years and like people like don't articulate this. And then, but you see panic, with people. And I think about how kind of feels like you're describing like a psychedelic trip that went bad.
It's kind of like that. And I did that a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think that could be but that's not an experience everybody understands.
Right. But
But
it's really
I
valuable.
think that the thing that causes me panic is, what if I can't understand what's going on outside of me,
Hmm.
right? I'm looking around. I'm not really in here, but I am, and I'm grounded enough that I can interpret what's going on. But am I going to get to a point where I can't?
In that moment, like with that,
Yeah. I
not
mean,
alone.
and the panic of I'm going to be stuck in
Yeah.
this. And
Wow.
then I won't be able to figure it out, right? It's like I've got floaters in my eyes, right? The little black spots go around. Sometimes they're little flashes of light and things. And I have to be aware that those are there and that they're not real, right? That they're blobs of gelatinous stuff in my eye drifting around and not a fly, right? Not a spider, not a shadow of somebody lurking in the dark, right? So your brain can interpret those things and tell you it's okay, right? This is just one of those floaters, but I'm afraid that sometime I won't be able to discern the difference.
Can other people help in those moments? Like if someone said those are just floaters, would you believe them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. Stating the obvious is probably a good thing. Don't be afraid to state the obvious to somebody that has dementia.
Okay. Well, thank you for being so open about that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I want to have a legacy. And if I can tell other people, you're okay, this is just the way it is, then maybe I helped.
Yeah. Maybe I could, speaking of your legacy, I'd like to go back to your nonprofit. So could you talk more about that and why you went that route, nonprofit, and what your bigger vision and goals are?
Yeah. So there are lots of companies that are selling software, selling phones, selling services. And I wanted to help people that, if people can afford to pay for it, then yay, and they can pay for it. And I didn't want the ability to pay to be a barrier for somebody, number one. So that's why I did the 501c3, because I wanted to basically say, okay, here's our subscription rate for Conexo Casa. And then that fee goes to people that can't afford to pay the fee from the people that can. So I'm trying to do that, number one. Number two, I wanted to protect privacy, and I didn't want to have the compromise of privacy to be an economic motivator for the organization. Because as you know, if you don't know what the product is, you are, right? It's anything that's free is never free. It's how can we track you? And so if you're vulnerable, you need to be protected by a group that doesn't have a profit motive.
Got it.
And this is it kind of goes to the testing and early knowledge, is you want to maintain privacy. And yes, there's HIPAA, but quite frankly, the insurance companies and the government, right? Whether you get a driver's license or whether you get your insurance or your life insurance or your long-term care or whatever it is, they're going to pull it as soon as they know that you have dementia. So there needs to be a privacy element to this, number one. Number two, your ability to identify dangerous things like fraud is compromised, right? So you got to have a trusted, private, secure network that's not just the internet for people to connect. And you need to be able to say, these are the people that are okay for this person to interact with. So you can't have unauthenticated access to somebody. I know that's a very technical.
I know, it was great.
Thing, but that's what I'm trying to do. And that's why it's a nonprofit, is because I wanted it to put the patient first and not profits.
Great. So if people want to, help out and, support this organization, how would they do that?
Conexo.casa, CONE. The website has a story. It has some videos that I did, has some of my music that I did, and it has a demo of the app so you can kind of go in and play it. The demo doesn't work right, so don't expect it to work, but you'll get the idea of where it is. And it's pretty close because AI has helped me a lot with that.
That's great. There's so much that's needed in this space, and the privacy issue is huge. So you have such an amazing, vantage point with your living this and your expertise and your, work that you've done and connections. Well, I just have a million ideas about how you could, different things you could do. I'm sure you do too. And like using AI to help support people stay connected and feel,
Well, I'm at the point where I want to be told what to do somewhat. I want degrees of freedom. I want to be able to do stuff. But they're always asking for volunteers at SCORE to do this or do that, or lead this committee or lead that committee. And I said, no, I got to be a follower, not a leader. And I've got my ideas and they've been established. And now I need somebody else to run with them.
We're rooting for you. I'm wondering if you could share what, from your perspective, does the healthcare system get wrong about things like Alzheimer's disease and how we care for people?
Well, obviously, the warehousing element of, many doctors, not you, because you get it, but and I'm not sucking up to you. I'm just saying there are a lot of,
Thank you.
there are a lot of neurologists and people that do a cursory diagnosis and say, off to the warehouse with you, right? It's basically there's nothing we can do. Go take this drug. Maybe I'll give you a antidepressant and I'll give you a Donepezil or something like that and come back in a year. And that's not, number one, treating somebody. It's not having the discussion about, we just change your diet and stop drinking or stop drinking sodas or get some exercise or socialize and join a group, right? And that most of the doctors, number one, they got 10 minutes, right? They got, okay, clocks up. How you doing? Diagnosis done. See you next year. It needs to be holistic.
Yeah.
So time with the provider, number one. Number two, you met one person with dementia, and there's, what's my deal? What works for me is not the deal that works for somebody else, right? So that's a big part of it. Number three is no programs for younger people. And we talked about my friend who is 45 and he has a 5-year-old daughter and he's got Alzheimer's and he's got profound dementia. He's whatever, after MCI, what is that? The next level, bad Alzheimer's. And where did they put him? Well, I tried to get him into an autism day program. Oh, insurance codes don't cover that. Our liability insurance doesn't cover that. He has to go to memory care with 90-year-olds. Well, he wants to run 2 miles, he wants to ride a bike. He wants to, do creative things. He wants to be there with his daughter and be able to do things. No, there's no services for that, or the services that would work are not available because the financial systems are not in place to pay for them. So you got autism, you got day programs you can go to. You got Down syndrome, you got day programs you can go to. You got Parkinson's, there's some day programs. But you have Alzheimer's and it's memory care for you.
Yeah.
So there, was that enough?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Those are the 3 biggies for me.
That's huge. Okay. Well, any other any other things you wanted to share as we wrap up?
Well, I'll just say music. And there's some things you can do now with music that you can be very satisfying. And you can write poems or speak words, tell a story to AI. Go to ChatGPT and hit the microphone and say, I want a story about a dancing dog in a field of daisies, right? And I want it to be a country song and I want it to be 3 minutes long and have a banjo in it. And it'll produce a song for you. And it'll probably be one you like.
Wow.
And you can listen to it. Now, I go a lot further than that. But people, it can be as simple as write a song about a dog in a field of daisies.
So you did share some of your songs with me, and hopefully, if you don't mind, we could
You can use one or do whatever you want with it. I don't, fine.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So yeah, we can include some of that in the show notes. Okay, well, I love ending on that note of music. It's one of the most powerful things we can do for ourselves and to stay connected to others and who we are. And it's represented
And, I remember songs way better than I remember faces, names, dates, and how to do things, right?
yeah.
You can remember music.
Mm-hmm. And is it typically, I hear it's from usually from like that teenage, early 20s time frame. Like you hear those songs are the most
They're
transport.
the ones that stick with you,
Yeah.
right? So I've got the 70s, 80s,
Mhm. Nice.
and so that's kind of my influence me.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time and for everything you're doing and sharing your story and speaking your truth and continuing to contribute and grow and in such powerful ways that are really changing the conversation. And I hope you know that and inspiring lots of people, including me, every time that I
Good.
interact with you.
Thanks.
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the Resilient Aging Unfiltered podcast. Yeah, we hope you were inspired too by what you heard and reach out and check out Bob's stuff in Conexo Casa. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Wallpaper's peeling at the edge of the heart, and the clock on the mantel is staring at the wall. I've got a story about the summer of '84, but I lose the handle before I reach the door. The coffee is steaming, ghost in my head. I'm a traveler lost in a shifting set. I say good morning, but the words don't land. I'm just a shadow where a giant used to stand. And I'm the invisible man in the leather chair. I'm breathing the light and I'm drinking the air. They look right through me to the space line, searching for a version they can no longer find. I'm a flicker in the hallway, a whisper in the stone. faces of clouds, they're drifting away. Don't look through me, please. Just look.